I want to welcome everyone. One of my jobs of today is to start on time. I didn't make that already. So, my name is Saskia Damen. I'm working at Royal Cantales and University of Groningen in the Netherlands. And I'm happy to welcome you here in this session of lightning talks. And these are 3 talks of PhD students, PhD projects. So I really enjoy that we have this combination of these 3 talks. Let me first introduce you the first speaker, Marianne Rorije. She's a PhD candidate at the Department of Inclusive and Special Needs Education at the University of Groningen in the Netherlands. And she's supervised by myself and also by Professor Marleen Jansen and Professor Alexander Minnaert. And she started her PhD journey in October 2018. And during this conference, she will present the primary outcomes of the research project Tell It, fostering the communicative agency and tactile communication skills of individuals with congenital deafblindness by improving the communication partners' communicative agency support and tactile communication strategies. And therefore a video feedback intervention was developed and tested on its effectiveness, the Influencing Communication and Language program. And in addition, it was investigated how communication coaches who provided the video feedback implemented the IC&L program. I give you the words, Marianne.
Thank you for the introduction, Saskia. Before I start, well, she just introduced me, but I'll give a short description if needed. I'm a 32-year-old white female, and I'm wearing a white shirt and green trousers. And we'll go through that. So as Saskia just said, I will today present the main result of my PhD study, Tell It, the effects of the Influencing Communication and Language program. The content of today, I will go describe a bit the depth of the aim of the study and describe the background, and then I will describe the method, results, and our conclusions. And we aim to test the effectiveness of the Influencing Communication and Language program. Here you see 2 pictures of 2 of our communication partners and 2 individuals with congenital deafblindness. I will start with explaining the picture on the left. There you see Noah, a 9-year-old boy with Charge syndrome, and his mother. They are talking about an earlier event with the help of pictures and drawings. And on the right you see David, a 42-year-old male with congenital deafblindness, and his communication partner. They are having a drinking situation, and the communication partner tries to let David feel that she is also drinking tea while he is drinking coffee. This is kind of the beginning of stimulating another person with another perspectiveness. Here you see an overview of the intervention program. We started with the intervention started with the first phase, consisted of 5 weeks where we focused on shared emotions and attunement. And then in the second phase, which lasted 8 weeks, we focused on shared attention and meaning making. And in the third phase was actually consolidation of those previous phases with an extra focus on expanding and adding communication and language. And throughout the whole intervention, there was a focus on the use of touch and a tactile modality, autonomy support, and the expansion of communication and language. At the start of each phase, there was a plenary training session, and throughout each phase, there were individual video feedback coaching sessions provided by communication coaches, where the communication partner had one-on-one video feedback coaching, where they discussed video fragments of one of those phases with each other. And actually, that was the most important component of the intervention. Do I have to speak louder? And then I go to the method part. It was a longitudinal experimental single case study design. In total, 9 individuals with congenital deafblindness completed the intervention together with their 18 communication partners. This could be parents, teachers, or professional caregivers. And the intervention took place at home, group home, school, or the daycare center. And we applied several instruments to test the effectiveness of the intervention. The observation of the video recordings. We recorded during the baseline, the interventions phases, and the follow-up. We asked communication partners to complete questionnaires regarding the communicative abilities and autonomy support skills of the individuals with congenital deafblindness. We also recorded the coach sessions to assess the program fidelity. And if you want to know more about that, I have a poster presentation in the afternoon. So I will happy to share that during the poster session. And we also asked the communication partners and the communication coaches to value the intervention, to evaluate with a social validity questionnaire. And here I will explain, we have the communicative scaffolding strategies and the autonomy support strategies as the 2 communication partner variables. And I will explain them later on. With regard to those communication partner variables, we observed and code 5-minute fragments of 3 videos for each phase, so the baseline, the interventions phases, and the follow-up. Therefore, we use 10-second interval coding with the annotation program ELAN. We did that with 2 trained independent observers for each diode and for each variable, where we aimed for inter-rater reliability of 0.61 coherence kappa and at least 80% percentage of agreement. It's an inter-rater reliability measure, but it also takes into account the wat is toeval? Also takes into account the chance. So it's a better and a stricter measure than only the percentage of agreement. You're welcome. And then for the for each category, we compared the intervention phases and follow-up scores with the scores of the baseline, and therefore we conducted a non-overlap of all pair analysis, where we considered an meaningful or medium and large and strong effect size as a meaningful effect. So a score from 0.66 up to 1 was a medium or large or strong, and that we considered as a meaningful effect. And with regard to the client variables, we had the communicative abilities and their autonomy skills, and we therefore applied 3 checklists. The language ability checklist, which consisted of 12 items and 5 categories. The categories were vocabulary, expression of length, ability to express, the number of topics, and understanding and the use of language. Then the quality of interaction and communication is actually the QIC by Wolthuis and Lourdes. It's a list consisted of 3 layers based on the intersubjectivity theory, and it assessed 6 categories of behavior: attention, imitation, sharing emotions, turn-taking, negotiation, and perspective-taking. And in total, they could score 144 points and 48 points for each layer. And then the autonomy checklist consisted of 4 categories. These categories were for the clients taking the initiative and inattention and turn-taking, self-determination in activities and topics of the conversation, meaning negotiation, and sharing thoughts, such as opinions. And with regard to those client variables, we observed one video for each phase of each client and communication partner diet, also of the baseline, the 3 intervention phases, and the follow-up, with the help of, we did that with 2 trained observers based on consensus. And here you see a table of the results of the communication partners, their communicative scaffolding strategies. Here you see the 6 categories. I will explain them. And here we have the use of bodily and tactile strategies. And 15 of the 18 communication partners demonstrated a meaningful effect for at least 1 intervention phase compared with the baseline. With regard to creating shared attention, this applied to 13 communication partners. 9 communication partners demonstrated a meaningful effect in their offering of meaning negotiation. 14 for adding communication throughout the interaction. 15 for offering symbolic communication, and 8 communication partners demonstrated a meaningful effect in the offering perspective taking in the interaction with the client. And all communication partners demonstrated meaningful effects in at least 2 strategies. And moreover, 12 communication partners demonstrated meaningful effects in 4 strategies or even more than 4 strategies. And here you see an overview of their autonomy support strategies. The first one was creating opportunities for the client's initiative. 13 communication partners demonstrated meaningful effect in at least 1 phase. This applied for 8 communication partners in confirming the individuals with CDB's independent acts, and 11 for addressing the client's initiated topics within the conversation. And 16 communication partners demonstrated a meaningful effect in 1 strategy, and of those 16, 10 demonstrated meaningful effect in 2 strategies, and 3 communication partners demonstrated a meaningful effect in all 3 strategies. And here we have the results of the client's communicative abilities. We based this on the 18 diets, and we determined a 10% improvement of the total score as a clinical threshold for change for at least 1 phase, where we compared also the baseline with the intervention phases. And with regard to the language abilities, there were 7 diets with a meaningful effect, or with this clinical 10% improvement of change. This applied for Joep, Emma, Joost, and Peter. And for Joost, for all his 3 communication partners, there was this 10% improvement. With regard to the QIC, so the quality and interaction in communication, we also determined this 10% improvement, but then for 1 separate layer as the clinical threshold for change. Because in all 18 diets, the individuals with CDB demonstrated behavior of the 1st and 2nd layer, but this was only seen in 5 diets for the 3rd layer. And here you see in the 1st layer, there were 4 diets with this 10% improvement, 5 diets in the 2nd layer, and only 1 diet out of 5 in the 3rd layer. And with regard to the autonomy support, we did the same with a 10% improvement. And there you see that 3 individuals with CDB had this 10% improvement in regard to their autonomy skills. Then I arrived at the conclusion. For the individuals with congenital deafblindness, most change in their communicative abilities was seen compared to their autonomy skills. And overall, most improvement was seen in Noah, Joep, and Peter. The IC&L intervention appeared effective in supporting communicative scaffolding strategies in all 18 communication partners. And 12 communication partners demonstrated meaningful effect in 4 or even more than 4 strategies out of the 6 strategies. And the IC&L intervention demonstrated meaningful effects in autonomy support strategies in 16 communication partners, and in 13 communication partners had meaningful effects in 2 or more than 2 strategies. So most improvement was measured in the communication partners compared with the results of the individuals with congenital deafblindness, which is kind of could be explainable since the intervention was directly applied to the communication partners and indirectly to the individuals with congenital deafblindness. And moreover, well, individuals with congenital deafblindness, they depend on the skills of the communication partners in the communication and their autonomy support. So they need them to develop their communicative and autonomy skills. And I think I more or less made it in time. Thank you.
If you have a question, please write it down because we will do the questions at the end. Okay? So we go quickly to the second presentation. So this presentation is from Kim Tossolini. Kim, she grew up in Italy in a very small town called Arcola. And when she turned 18, she went to the Netherlands to study pedagogical science at the University of Groningen. And during these years, her interest in deaf and deafblind children grew more and more. Therefore, after her bachelor, she enrolled and obtained a master's degree in communication and deafblindness. And while writing her master thesis, an interesting opportunity presented itself, the possibility of doing research in the field of deafblindness. And Kim was immediately enthusiastic, applied and got a job as a PhD researcher at the University of Groningen. And the project is called Thinking in Dialogue and is now, after 3.5 years, almost coming to an end. I give you the word, Kim.
Thank you, Saskia, for your introduction. I also am going to shortly describe myself. I'm a 26-year-old white girl. I'm wearing a white blouse and beige jeans. Let me take my presentation here. Okay. So as Saskia said, I'm also going to tell you something about my research, which is called Thinking in Dialogue, and it is a collaboration between the University of Groningen and Royal Centalis in the Netherlands. So what we did in the last 3.5 years, we implemented training for caregivers in the use of specific caregiver strategies. And the aim of this research was to hopefully in the end develop a training for caregivers in using these caregiver strategies. And we want to test the effectiveness of this training on the cognitive abilities of children with congenital deafblindness. And our research question was, to what extent is it possible to train caregivers of youth with congenital deafblindness in effectively stimulating specific cognitive abilities in their children? So my research looks a little bit like the research that Marianne told you about. We also have different intervention phases. We always start with a baseline of 5 weeks in which we get a picture of the situation between the caregivers and the children. Then we have the attunement phase, also 5 weeks. In this phase, we focus on the attunement of interaction between the child and the caregiver, because, of course, that is an important basis to work on all other things. So that's why we start with focusing on the attunement of interaction. And after that, we have 15 weeks of the cognition phase, in which we focus on the cognitive development of the children. And in the end, we have 12 weeks of follow-up to see what happens after the intervention. And during all these intervention phases, the caregivers and the children videotape a chosen activity. Before each phase, we have some educational group sessions in which we tell something about, for example, the important theories that we use within this research. And during the attunement and the cognition phase, the caregivers work together with an interaction coach, which comes to, for example, coach them on the job during the activity, during 5 times, and they have some video interaction guidance moments. So they sit together to watch back some of the recordings that they made and to learn from the recordings. So 9 children or adolescents with congenital deafblindness participated in this research. They are all aged between 5 and 25 years of age. In total, 10 parents, teachers, or any other type of caregivers participated, and 10 coaches. And to look at the cognitive abilities of the children, we performed several dynamic assessments at the beginning and at the end of each trajectory. And what I am going to do in the upcoming months is the observation of all the video recordings that we got. To give you a better idea of what the caregivers work on during the training, here you see the caregiver strategies that we focus on. These strategies we got from previous research, and in previous research they were mostly used in relation to, for example, communication. And in thinking in dialogue, we use those same caregiver strategies to see what the effect is of these strategies on the cognitive abilities. So that's the new thing in using these caregiver strategies. And you see that the caregiver can, for example, provide an example to the children. They can repeat something that they did or something that they said. They can do something together with the child. They can consciously wait, for example, to wait for a reaction or to give the child some processing time. Or they can provoke to elicit a response in the child. Other strategies are the use and the stimulating of language. What also really important, the giving compliments and the metacognitive strategies. So thinking about your own thinking and helping children in this process of thinking. On the other hand, we have the cognitive abilities that we look at. These we got from Piaget's theory of cognitive development, which maybe you know. Piaget stated that children go through 4 phases of development, and in thinking in dialogue, we focus mostly on the first 3 stages, which are the sensory motor stage, the pre-operational stage, and the concrete operational stage. And the abilities that you see on the left are important milestones in the development of children, and those are the abilities that we focus on within this research. So, for example, means-end relation, when a child learns that, for example, when he cries, mom or dad will come, or when you push a button, a toy will start a music of some kind. Or object permanence, the knowledge that things or people keep existing even when you don't see or experience them. Symbolization, so to know that you can use symbols that represent something else. Fantasy games, so, pretend play with toys or pretend play with other people. And in the concrete operational stage, we look at classification. So, for example, the ability to group things based on certain categories. For example, that all animals with beaks are birds. And the last one that we look at is perspective taking. So the knowledge that other people also have emotions and thoughts that can differ from your own. To conclude, I brought a case study because I think that's the nicest way to explain and to show you what we do. Here you see 3 pictures of a girl and her mother sitting at a table during one of the activities that they did during the cognition phase. You see here Hannah. She's 11 years old and she has Charge syndrome, low hearing. She does wear hearing aids, and she has a moderate sight loss. Hannah participated in the study with her mother, but also with a teacher. So that's a really nice thing because we look both at the situation at home and the situation in the classroom. And After we performed the dynamic assessment with Hannah, we could see that she was already in a concrete operational stage. She mastered all the abilities before, and together with, for example, her mother, but also other involved caregivers, we decided that it would be a nice goal for her to work on emotions. So which emotions are there, and how can you recognize emotions, for example, in a story? And we decided to do that with a book that you see here lying on the table. And this is a children's book about a girl that goes to school, and then things happen, like she falls down and she has to cry, or she gets angry at another classmate. So a lot of emotions come up in this story. And what Hannah and her mother did, they sat down reading this story, and every time something with an emotion came up, the mother would name the emotion and ask questions about it, and they would have a conversation about it. So for example, you see here in the pictures, in the first picture, you see them together making the sign for scared, Dutch sign, in the second one for angry, and in the last one for sad. So I am still in the middle of this research, so I don't have like concrete results such as Marianne had. I just have preliminary results. First, about Hannah. What we saw in Hannah is that after the cognition phase and after the follow-up, she could recognize the emotions in the book, which was really nice. At first, she was only imitating a lot what mother did, and in the end, she could really predict the story and made the signs for the emotions herself. But what was also really nice is that mother told us that she was now much more aware of the fact that she could talk about emotions with her daughter, and that she didn't really realize that before. So that now at home there were many more possibilities of talking about it and naming the emotions that she saw. And so that was a really nice thing. And for the rest, we have process evaluations of the first case studies, which we concluded. And overall, we can state that there were positive outcomes both for the caregivers and for the children. The cognition goals that we set for the children were almost all achieved, and also caregivers actually gave quite positive feedback about the training and what they got from it. But of course, we still have to analyze everything, so we are really curious to see what's going to come out of all the observations of the videos that we have. And that is something that I'm going to do in the upcoming months. So contact me in a year if you want to know more. That was what I wanted to tell you. Thank you.
Okay, we go to the third and last speaker, Caroline Gravel. She is a rehabilitation scientist for hearing impairments and also a PhD student at the University of Cologne, I don't know, do I pronounce it well? Okay, Germany. She's also currently taking further training to become a low vision consultant, and her research focuses on deafblindness, assistive technology, accessibility, and the digital disability divide. Her doctoral dissertation project, Deafblindness, Technology and Participation, aims to contribute to an in-depth understanding of the experiences of adults with acquired deafblindness regarding their use of technical devices. And for 3 years, she supported adults with acquired deafblindness as part of an assisted living service. Since the beginning of 2023, Caroline has been working as a researcher in the project Hearing and Communication in Care Facilities at the University of Cologne. She is also the administrator of the DBI Acquired Deafblindness Network Facebook group and a member of the Wittich Vision Impairment Research Laboratory. Okay, I give you the word.
Can I give it to you? So hello everyone, my name is Caroline. Thank you Saskia for your introduction. I'm a 31-year-old white woman. My hair is light brown and chin length, and today I'm wearing a, I would say, pink rusty t-shirt and green trousers, and on my right foot I have a ankle foot orthosis due to a foot drop paralysis. So yeah, in case you wonder, I have a foot drop paralysis. My title of the presentation today is Deafblind Digital Divide, how adults with acquired deafblindness in Germany experience their social and digital participation through the use of assistive technology and information and communication technologies. A big title. I hope I can communicate it well so you will have an understanding of it. Oh, the green one, sorry. So I will skip this a slide because it's information about my work background, and Saskia already said a lot of it. So it's in the Event Hub page, so if you are interested about that. Okay. The purpose of the presentation is to share my current status of my dissertation project, and also to get in touch with you at the conference, so to have a scientific and professional exchange with others, other researcher, practitioners and individuals with acquired deafblindness. And my PhD dissertation project, I am based in Cologne, Germany. My supervisors are Markus Dederich and Walter Wittich from Canada. So now I will give you a short introduction to my PhD project, and when we are talking about deafblindness, technology and participation, it is very important to know that the access and use of assistive technology is one priority in both rehabilitation and research in the field of deafblindness. And in Germany there are approximately 8,000 to 10,000 people living with deafblindness or dual sensory loss. There's no exact number, but yeah, that's probably 8,000 to 10,000 people. But there is a lack of scientific insight into experiences of deafblind people and regarding their use of assistive technologies and information and communication technology, ICT. So in my PhD project, I understand disability, participation, and the use of technical devices as individual lived experiences. And therefore, beside a theoretical discussion in the fields of disability, digital divide, assistive technology, and products, as well as social participation, I chose to conduct a qualitative interview study to collect first-hand data or information from people living with deafblindness. I want to conduct 10 to 12 interviews with adults with acquired deafblindness in Germany by using a participant-oriented research process. And with a qualitative content analysis, I will then explore the experiences regarding the use of technology and participation. And I also want to use the International Classification of Functioning, Disability and Health as a deductive analysis framework. So to set the theoretical frame, I will now give you a brief introduction to the disability digital divide research. It all started with the digital divide research in the 1990s. At the beginning, it was all about the physical access to the internet as well as hard and software. The research about the so-called first level divide only ask who had or had not access to this soft or hardware. And in the years that followed, research questions became more specific and focused on how computers and the internet were used. And the second level divide was about skills for the use of a digital media. And then the third level divide then focused on the outcomes and benefits of computer and internet access and use. So we all know that there was a great process and development of the digitalization in our culture over the years. And the digital divide research showed that not everybody has the same chances and benefits regarding the access to and the use of computers and the internet. And since the early 2000s, there was research on access and use of the internet and ICT by people with disabilities. That research showed that people with disabilities face greater barriers when it comes to the topic of digitalization, and the authors Vicenza and Lopez concluded that, I quote, "This division between people with disabilities and the rest of the population with regard to ICT can be referred to as the disability digital divide." So my overall research question is there a specific deafblind digital divide? And to be honest, I don't think that I will be able to answer this question all by myself, but I think I can make a little contribution to, with my research to that. So I started the first phase of the qualitative interview study in March this year, and I've sent project information via mail to several organizations in Germany and self-help groups, and 6 persons with acquired deafblindness expressed their interest, and so far I conducted 4 interviews, and 2 are more to come in August. To provide a research setting I'm conducting a so-called problem-centered interviews after Witzel by using a semi-structured interview guide to focus specifically on the individual experiences regarding the participation through the digital environment and participation in the digital environment. So it's like 2 perspectives. Participation through digital environment and participation in digital environment. And to provide a research setting as accessible as possible, I'm adapting a participant-oriented research process. Other researchers have provided some guidelines for conducting research with individuals with deafblindness. Michelle Evans, for example, created and used so-called multiple sensory communication and interview methods. So I offer different modes of communication like clear speech, German Sign Language, or hands-on signing, German Sign Language, or different modes of interview settings like in person. They come to me into the office at the university, or I go to the persons to their homes, or we can have a video chat interview. And of course, when the person needs support, or I need support, because I know sign language, but for one interview I hired an interpreter because, I wanted to really be safe in the communication. So if we need a support service providers or interpreters, we organize that, or I organize that. So among other things, these topics were addressed in the first interviews. The participants were all using various digital assistive products and devices, like hearing aids with Bluetooth, a refreshable bright display, or magnifying software. And they are using these products in combination with mainstream devices like the smartphone or laptops. And some of the participants described security issues regarding the use of these technologies or problems with the accessibility, for example, cookie messages on German websites. And also the costs and payments of the devices was a discussed topic, as well as the access to training and education. Oh, here we go again. So it's not like the participants see assistive products and ICT as the all-round solution for everything. There's a certain ambivalence. And on the one hand, there are great chances regarding getting or maintaining independence. But on the other hand, the participants also describe problems with the technical devices that can lead to dependency or new dependencies. And it's like a scale with different weights. Depending on the situation, one side weighs more than the other. Okay. Sorry for that. And one participant said, thanks to the technical aids, at least you have bridges. That's why I don't want to miss them. But you also need the social context that you don't have to sit anonymously in a little room somewhere in old age and feel lonely. And I think it's a really good metaphor. Technology can be a bridge, but if there is nothing or no one on the other side to get in touch with, or the bridge is somehow broken or not accessible, it can be a problem by itself. So my next steps will be to complete the first phase of the interview study, conduct 2 more interviews in August. Then I will have a little break and do the first round of analysis using the qualitative content analysis and the computer program MaxQDA and the ICFS framework. And then at the beginning of the next year, I will prepare the second phase of the interview study, and hopefully I find some more participants for that. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, I want to ask all the speakers to come here, because we have a few minutes, and it would be lovely at least to have one question for each of the speakers. So is there a question for Marianne Rorije? Oh. Yeah, okay.
Well, thank you, Marianne, for this great presentation. I was wondering, because you're coming to the end, what is the next step in your study? Like, what are you going to do if it's finished? What is the next step for the intervention that was developed?
Well, that's a very good question. Well, we are talking about also to implement it, because it's an intervention, and the previous interventions are already carried out in some healthcare institutions in the Netherlands. So we really think about it, implement, but it's still in some early stage of that. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then is there a question for Kim? Yes.
Thanks, all 3 of you. That was all great presentations. Kim, you talked about goal setting and the goal setting of emotion, and yesterday in the communication network meeting we heard about the importance of involving families in planning. So I just was wondering how the family or parents were involved in the goal setting process.
Yeah, well, in this specific case, the mother was really involved because she was doing the intervention. So we really decided it together based on the assessment that we performed, of course, and the outcomes of that. But it was always a team effort. So there were always, it was always me and Saskia involved, and so the mother, and for example, orthopedagoog. Like the educational psychologist that is working with a child, they always thought with us to set the right goal. Yeah, or in, for example, the context of the schools, then also the teachers or other psychologists were involved. So it was always multiple people setting the right goal for the child. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay, then is there also a question for Caroline? Carolyn? Yes? Femke? Oh. Can somebody pass it on to me?
Yes? You? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Same for me. Thank you all 3 for your talks. Question for you, Caroline. You were saying you made a difference between true digital environment and in digital environment. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Of course. So. The meaning of through a digital environment is by using somehow digital devices like a smartphone or a refreshable braille display, and participation through or in the environment is like using a WhatsApp messenger or using going in the internet to a website, and when it's not accessible, you're not really having participation in the digital environment. So maybe you have the smartphone to use the internet, but you can't really use it because it's not accessible. So these are two things. One, participation in the digital environment and through the digital environment. Yeah.
Okay. So we also have something for you as a thanks for your presentation. Let me give it to you. Wonderful.